Curiosity's not a sin, Harry, but you should exercise caution.
It's a time strand. You're fraternizing with the enemy.
There's the Cruciatus curse.
And we'll celebrate a boy who was kind and honest and brave and true, right to the very end.
Hey everyone, welcome to Hogwarts, a podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Hogwarts, a podcast. We're doing Chapter 20, The First Task. And this is awesome, because we have a guest back who, it's been a while since you've been on. Mollie is back.
Oh, hey!
So this is a big chapter, but before we get into it, there is a shout-out that I want to mention. Danielle D. has left us a couple of comments through Spotify and Anchor, saying that she really enjoyed listening to Chapter 12, the Triwizard Tournament. She enjoys listening to the podcast every week, and that means a lot to us, and I know it's awesome to kind of read those comments. And she's from Oregon, which also blows my mind, because we're based in Illinois.
Yep. And
we've been heard in all 50 states, which is mind-blowing, and thank you for all the love in Oregon and all the listens. We really, really appreciate it. Keep commenting. Please leave a like, review, comment, wherever you're listening to this, whether it's on Spotify or Anchor, Apple, Google Podcasts. All of that stuff really helps, and it gets us out to even more people so they can listen. And also, if you're listening on Anchor, you can leave a voice message, which is really cool, and you can actually end up hearing your own voice on our podcast by leaving one of those voice messages. So feel free to leave one of those, and you might end up on the podcast. For Twitter, we've ran a couple of polls. We're only going to get to one of the poll results on this particular episode because it has something to do specifically with this chapter, and then we'll get to the others on the next chapter. But for right now, we have the favorite Triwizard champion. So we ran two versions of this poll. We ran a Twitter version and we ran an Instagram version. The Twitter version had Harry as part of the poll. So I feel bad because Harry got 59% of the vote, which I think...
Overwhelmingly not surprised.
Yeah. Cedric finished second with 29%. Fleur came in at 12%. And Crumb, poor Crumb.
I know, no love for Crumb.
Got a 0% on our Twitter poll.
Like
which,
zero.
That's unfortunate.
I know.
He did get a little bit more love on the Instagram poll when we took Harry out of the equation. Your favorite Triwizard champion, not named Harry Potter. And that was a little bit more interesting. Cedric got 62% of the vote, which isn't terribly surprising, given he's our Hogwarts guy. Fleur jumped way up from 12 to 23%. And Crumb jumped from 0 to 15%. So still way behind, but at least he got some votes, some love. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that kind of poll?
Oh, man. I'm going to take Harry out of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I gotta go with my fellow Hufflepuff. Gonna vote for Cedric.
That's fair. Yeah.
But then my second vote would be Crumb. And
Interesting.
Then I would vote for Fleur.
I think I'm on your same wavelength. I've been a huge fan of Cedric throughout this book so far, so why change now?
Why?
But I would go Cedric, Crumb, and Fleur. We need to have a Crumb deep dive here at some points, because I think he's a more interesting character than a lot of people give him credit for.
I totally agree.
And there's been some tidbits that have been dropped about him so far that are interesting, like him spending so much time in the library and so forth. So there's some interesting things about Crumb.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised by all the love for Fleur.
I know. I don't know. I
don't know where they're getting that from exactly. Yeah. But I don't know. So let us know your thoughts behind it. And like I said a couple of minutes ago, leave us those comments about, kind of your reasoning why Fleur and Crumb might or might not get your votes.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it.
So this chapter's pretty massive. It's the first task. There are some other things going on. You get Cedric being the only one unaware that the dragons are a thing. So we get Harry kind of informing Cedric about that. Yep. We get a meeting in Moody's office. Mm-hmm. we get the summoning charms finally coming back. They've been hinting at that for a while with, man, Harry's really bad at summoning charms.
Right.
They keep mentioning that. Well, it's now a thing. We get some McGonagall advice. We get some Bagman trying to give advice.
Oh, Bagman.
And then we get the actual task itself, which is a whole thing, which we will dive into.
Gosh. Yeah.
There's a lot to that, and that will take up a lot of it. So we'll get there. But to start off, I just want to mention, we got a Ginny mention. And Jen and I have gone on about how Ginny's kind of just disappeared. Like, Chamber of Secrets was Ginny, 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 for obvious reasons. And then she just kind of, like, went off the page.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen her, and then right out the gate of this chapter, we get a Ginny mention sitting with them.
Yeah.
She exists. She officially exists. It's not like she transferred out of Hogwarts for, like, a semester or something.
Yeah.
She exists.
She's alive and well.
Mm-hmm. And Harry took it upon himself to tell Cedric what he will potentially be facing, like, the day before. And we talked in one of our last episodes about how Cedric's clearly got the least amount of help here, right? Like, Cedric's on an island, because you figure Karkaroff has told Krim. You figure Maxime has told Fleur. Harry obviously knows. I don't think Sprout is, like, leading him into the Forbidden Forest.
No.
So he's on his own.
Yeah.
And these other students have had days to prep.
Yeah.
He's getting told this the day before.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being Cedric and being like, hey, you got dragons. Good luck.
No.
Figure this out.
Yeah. No. And, like, I think that's, too, like, a very Hufflepuff thing, and I think that's why I admire him as a Triwizard Tournament champion, because he has that loyalty in him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, why would I get help? Like, that's not part of the rules. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's just, I think Harry speaks a lot. I think he directly speaks to what I think Cedric asked him, like, why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
And he goes, fair. Like, we're all on the same even playing field now. Everybody knows, even though they're really not, because he's getting the least amount of prep for it. But now everybody knows.
Yeah.
So everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. And I like that. I think, and I like that. I think that says a lot about, like, even Harry's character, that he wants everybody to be on the same playing field, that he's not just taking this information and running away with it. So.
I think of the four houses, obviously the split was between Gryffindor and Slytherin for Harry.
Right.
I think of Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff, he'd be much more a Puff.
Oh, 100%.
Because it goes into the, first year dumb, second year stupid thing.
Yes.
I think it's safe to say Harry wouldn't be a Ravenclaw at any point. It would be the fourth of the four, but anyway.
Yeah.
So Moody also takes note of this act of kindness from Harry and brings him into his office for kind of a little prep chat, I guess.
Yeah.
And starts off with being like, look, cheating's always been a part of the Triwizard Tournament. It's always happened. Everybody knows about it. It's fine. Let's just try not to get you killed. But I love his advice. I think his advice is really on point. It's also, I don't want to call it dumb advice, but it's obvious advice.
Yes.
Like, play to your strengths.
Right.
What are you actually good at? And something simple. Like, we know you don't have the magical knowledge that the other three do just because you're younger. You've had less magical schooling. Mm-hmm. So use something simple.
Right.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And this kind of strategy, I like the strategy session. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think about Moody kind of talking it over with them?
Oh, I like it. I mean, I would say everything that you said pretty much. Just, it's very straightforward, very like, all right, like, you can't go crazy with this or else they'll know that you knew. What is something easy and obvious that you would think to do in a situation like that? Oh, hey.
Have you ever had a discussion with, like, I'll even tie it in. Have you had a patient?
Yeah.
And you've told them, like, an exercise to do. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, I can't do that. I'm not good at that, or I'm not strong enough, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then you respond the same way Moody does with like, you're strong enough if I tell you you're strong enough. Go do it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that idea of like, you have strength if I say you have strengths. Figure it out.
Right, yeah.
And then it takes like Harry like a second to be like, oh wait, I am good at this. But how can I use that? And then they kind of talk that through, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I know I've had that conversation with student athletes before. So they come up with the idea that obviously Quidditch is his strength. His thing is flying. So now the question then becomes, how do I do this when I only have a wand?
Yeah.
And I'm not allowed a broom. Okay, well, now there's a simple spell that you could probably use that may have been a thing that's been mentioned in previous chapters. Summoning charm, summoning charm, summoning charm. Harry can't do it. Harry can't do it. Finally figures it out. Here's my question to you about this summoning charm.
Okay.
We obviously know it was set to him as homework in Charms class. Mm-hmm. He goes to Hermione for help. And I get why. I know why. People are probably yelling at me right now listening to this, being like, it's one of his best friends who's really smart. Of course he would go. I get that. But he could go to the Charms teacher.
He could.
And be like, hey, can you help me out with this summoning charm that I couldn't get in class like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And it's Flitwick.
Yeah.
You get a pro helping you with your summoning charm.
Yeah. I mean, oh, that's a tough question.
And it doesn't count as like help with the Triwizard Tournament.
Right. It counts as help with homework.
Homework. Right.
I think though at the same time, Flitwick is smart enough, he's a Ravenclaw, to be like, why are you all of a sudden real curious about a summoning
The day before
charm?
your test.
Huh.
That being said, I think Flitwick would help. I think it would help him. I'd be like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, you did fail this exam.
Right.
Okay, you do need help with this charm, because whatever.
Right.
I think he'd do it, though.
Yeah.
Do you think, then, would Flitwick helping him have Harry get the charm quicker?
No.
Because it takes, like, Hermione, like, a full day of intense practice.
Yeah.
Minus the, hour and a half for arithmancy or something like that?
So here's my theory on that, because I have thought about that. I think it goes back to the whole, you gotta mean it with magic.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's interesting that he gets it, and he gets it very well down, towards the hour, because he means it and he needs it. So.
Okay, so I think it's like a desperation thing.
Yeah.
That kind of comes through.
Right.
So I guess in the teaching styles then, obviously Hermione with her friend is stressing that importance of like, let's not have you die tomorrow.
Right.
Whereas Flitwick would come at it with more of like a literal academic classroom of like, no, this is technically how you do this spell.
Yes.
Without the emotional attachment to it.
Yes.
And you think Harry excels with the emotional attachment?
I think he very much excels because, he even says, like, oh, now I know what to do whenever I need to get a spell before an exam. I just have to involve a dragon.
That's true. I do like when they decide on what their plan is, they go for it.
Oh, they go all in.
It's like, and I guess, yeah, whenever Harry needs to figure out something, just bring a dragon into it. That's fine. It's like, but Harry, you could accomplish a lot if you had, like, a little bit of the motivation that Hermione has to, like,
right,
study and get better and practice.
Right.
Like the Quidditch. You're great at Quidditch. Mm-hmm. Well, you go and you practice a lot. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is your thing. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting that goes to Hermione instead of Flitwick. Not even a thought to Flitwick.
Yeah.
And given it was homework, but...
Yeah. Well, I feel like, too, in those situations, like, I know I would be intimidated to go to a teacher first. I think I would start with my friends, and I think I would be like, oh, hey, like, what do you think? Like, what are your thoughts? And then if everyone was stumped, then I would be like, all right.
Well, you talked about that, too, with, like, Cedric is... How much help do you think he's getting even from fellow Hufflepuffs?
Oh, I don't think he's really getting any help at all. Just the way that he handled, the first task in general. It was a very, like, compared to the other three, it was a very, I think, student thought out type of solution to the problem. Whereas the other three, I mean, Harry was too, to a certain degree, because he did get help.
Right.
But, and I mean, the other two did too. But, like, the other two, it was so advanced magic.
Right.
That most of those students are probably not learning. They're probably in the same boat as most of the Hogwarts students.
So you think, like, Fleur and Crumb are literally sitting on the boat and in the carriage, like, drilling, like Hermione and Harry here, like, we're doing the spell over and over and over again until we get it, like, perfectly right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just get to the task.
Yeah.
So we get down, I think Harry gets pulled from the Great Hall to go down to the tent right outside the enclosure. And I also like how Cedric's already there. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't get pulled from the Great Hall. He was, like, already there with Fleur and Crumb. And I like McGonagall's advice. McGonagall, like, puts a hand on his shoulder and is just like, keep a cool head, don't panic, do your best. You'll be fine. No one will think less of you, no one will whatever. You see the softer side of Minerva McGonagall, which you don't see very often at all. But we get it here a little bit. And I think you had a note about the man of the hour, Ludo Bagman.
Oh, man. Oh, Ludo. I think him and Lockhart have probably hung out in the past. Whether or not they actually had, like, a conversation where they both got something from one another, I don't think happened. But, yeah, I love the fact that he's wearing his old Quidditch robe to the Triwizard Tournament.
Yeah,
Why?
I defended him wearing the Quidditch robes at the Quidditch World Cup.
It's hard to in this situation.
It's hard. It's a little weird. It's a little weird. I'm not going to lie. Now this comes across as you really trying to hang on to your former glory.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't imagine me showing up to, like, a World Series game, but I'm wearing, like, an old basketball jersey or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't place that in my head of where that would be appropriate. But good for him anyway. Whatever.
I just have so many thoughts about Bagman, like, sitting in a sports betting place, like...
You mentioned Bagman and Lockhart. Could you imagine them trying to scam people?
Oh, God.
And win bets that way?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all it would take... well, first of all, I guess it wouldn't even have to be a scam. You could just memory charm them and win the bet that way, I guess.
Oh, my God. How many sporting events would be fixed?
Yup.
Right.
Oh, it'd be terrible.
I just picture Bagman, like, hanging out in the equivalent of, like, a Vegas, like, sports book place in his old
Quidditch robes.
Like, yeah, there was that one time.
So he announces to the champions that the task is to collect the golden egg. And as he's kind of going over this, Harry can hear hundreds and hundreds of feet walk by the tent on their way to the enclosure, which, again, brings up this question of how many people are actually here? And are there other people coming in for this event? Like, is the general public allowed?
Yeah. I don't know.
Because we know for a fact there are only 20 students from Beauxbaton and Durmstrang.
Yeah.
Like, they only brought 10 per school. So there's 20.
Yeah.
So how many other people are really coming to this thing? Unless it's like a Harry anxiety, like, there's so many people coming to watch.
And I think that's where, you know, J.K. Rowling does a good job with the writing, and you feel like you're in Harry's position.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I was rereading this, like, I was literally, like, getting sweaty and, like, feeling that, like, competition game feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I don't know, I think she does a fantastic job of putting you in Harry's spot, and that pre-game excitement, nervousness.
I like the descriptions that she has of the other champions.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time we've seen them, they've been calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah.
And this is nothing to them.
Mm-hmm.
And Cedric's obviously not feeling his best. Fleur is obviously off her game, not looking the composed individual that she has been. And Crumb, the image that they give is surly. I'm assuming he just gets, like, angrier.
Yeah.
The more anxious he gets.
I could see that. It seems like, too, I mean, I would assume with him being, like, a famous Quidditch player, like, he's used to the pressure of having to compete.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So, there's pressure on him in the Quidditch World Cup.
Yes.
Obviously. You're the seeker of a team that has a chance to win the Quidditch World Cup. You're the best player. You are the Leo Messi on Argentina in the World Cup. The best player on arguably one of the best teams, and you're playing for it. That's pressure. Mm-hmm. Do you think he's under more pressure being in the Triwizard Tournament where everybody knows he's famous, everybody knows he's really gifted, and now you're being put in the spotlight again, and you're not your flying ability necessarily, but your talent as a wizard is on the stage?
That's a great question.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because, like, Quidditch is something that's very much in his wheelhouse. Like, he's used to the pressures of playing. He's used to being in that position. I don't think the fact that he's a famous Quidditch player weighs heavily on him in this situation. I think he's used to that because that's a day-to-day thing for him. But I could see where he's being judged for his skills as a wizard would definitely put more pressure on him.
Like a little out of his comfort zone kind of thing?
Yeah, he's out of his wheelhouse. He's out of his comfort.
He obviously volunteered for this.
Right.
I don't think Karkaroff had, like, a wand to his back and was like, you're doing this.
Right.
I think he volunteered, but he also hasn't played up the whole, I'm here, I'm famous,
No.
I'm really good, I'm a world-class athlete, I'm X, Y, or Z.
Yeah,
like,
no.
he's never played that at once.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the image of him being surly is a weird, like, I don't know how you ever felt before competitions.
Yeah.
But I don't know that surly is ever a word I can use to describe myself.
Yeah.
Before I'm ready to, like, I guess I'd play, like, the disrespect card.
Yeah.
But he's not getting the disrespect card.
No.
People are expecting him to perform.
Right. Well, I know, so, because I played soccer.
Mm-hmm.
I played soccer growing up. Whenever, like, I know it's different, but, like, if I got hurt during a game, I was not the nicest person to be approached. I was just like, give me a minute. So I could see, too, where you're about to be in this pressured situation. Like, you kind of want to go into yourself a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and not be bothered by people. So your first reaction would be to be surly.
Your description of that makes him at the Quidditch World Cup with a broken nose seems so much more on point. Of him just being like, get away from me, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, just give me a minute.
Just let me be.
Yeah, I don't know. I get that he definitely wouldn't have a problem with the crowd. The crowd wouldn't bug him at all because that's something he's used to.
Yeah.
But I wonder if he does feel any, like, internal pressure with himself of, like,
Right.
this isn't Quidditch. This
Right.
is something different.
Right.
Am I good enough for this? I don't know. It'd be interesting. So we get to, there's a lot to break down here. Okay, so we have
There is.
the dragons. So each contestant is picking a dragon out of this bag with a number around the dragon, indicating the order in which you will compete. So we get Fleur going first, and she gets the Welsh green with the number 2. Crumb gets the Chinese fireball with the number 3. Cedric, the least prepared, gets the Swedish Schwarzsnout with the number 1.
Of course, Cedric.
Of course. And Harry gets, quite obviously, the angriest of the 4 dragons, the Hungarian Horntail, with the number 4 spot. So, you know, I just joked about Cedric being the least prepared, getting the first spot. That, I think, works for him and against him. Obviously, you don't have the time to further your thought process, but maybe furthering out the thought process, not a good thing sometimes. Maybe just going right into it maybe helps him, because we get the other 3 champions going, and you hear Harry being like, oh man, this sounds intense. This is And the more he hears, the more like apprehensive he is about this experience. So maybe going first is the best thing. Just get it over with.
Yeah, I think it depends on the person and the situation. I could see definitely where going first would be the advantage. Like you said, you're not thinking about it. You're not sitting back there just like listening to everybody go and their performance and Bagman's commentary and overthinking every little thing. But at the same time, too, if you're still trying to, like, lock your plan down or you just want more time to kind of, like, collect yourself, I could see where going last would be an advantage as well.
For sure. Let's break this down combatant by combatant. All right? So Cedric goes first, so let's break down Cedric first.
All right.
He gets the Swedish short snout. It takes him about 15 minutes to complete the task, which, in my mind, is pretty good.
I was impressed.
It's pretty good.
When they said 15, I was like, dang, that's quick.
It's now, I'm sure to him, that is in eternity.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like forever when you're in that moment. But 15 minutes, honestly, all things considered, to best a dragon, it's not bad.
No.
Right? So he was burned. He was pretty badly burned, mostly over the face, right? The side of the face, I think, is what mainly got burned. Pretty boy Cedric got his face burned a little bit. But his method of besting his dragon was he transfigured a rock to become a Labrador, a dog.
Yeah!
I know, I knew Mollie was going to love this. I knew it. So he transfigured a rock to become a lab and have the dragon go after the... It's not a dog, it's a rock.
Yes.
So he tricked the dragon into chasing this rock that looks like a dog now.
I would have significant issues if it was a real lab.
Yeah, that's fair.
I have a lab.
So did you think the scenario through with Odin and being like, Odin running away from a... These are 50-foot tall dragons, by the way. 50-foot tall dragons.
Odin, go! I got this!
Run!
Get out of here!
Yeah, I don't think Odin would love this experience.
No, he's a big chicken. He's Fang. He's Fang in real life. No joke.
That's true. I have met Odin on a couple of occasions. This is factual. I can confirm. So what do you think? What do you think about Cedric's strategy here?
I think it's a decent thought process. You know, the whole bait and switch type thing. Again, I think it's very school-aged thinking. In terms of all right, what can I do? Oh, well, maybe I can just transfigure something. You know, a little last minute. So, but I think it's decent.
I think it plays to his I guess how they built him up as being a good student.
Yeah.
To actually use a bit of transfiguration, which transfiguration is not an easy branch of magic. So to be able to transform a rock into something that's large enough to gauge or to attract a dragon's attention, and then to have it move, and I'm assuming you're also controlling it while you're going for the egg to keep it away, or is it just like a dog that just runs?
Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
Is he controlling it too, or is he just letting it go be a thing while he goes around the side?
Yeah, I didn't think about that, because that would be really difficult to try to be controlling something while running after.
Right. The easy answer is no, he just lets it become a dog and then let it run haphazardly around the enclosure. But how I think of it is I would want to control it. I would almost have it on a track and be go away specifically from the dragon, because I can't imagine this thing is particularly smart if it's a rock.
Right.
So you got to keep it away from the dragon for as long as humanly possible.
Right. But then you have to wonder, okay, I don't know, is the dragon really going to be enamored with this dog? Because Cedric is the one, right? Cedric is the one that's going after the eggs. I would think that dragon would be more protective over the eggs and somebody going towards it than just, I don't know. I could be totally wrong. I'm just...
Well, no, and that's what I thought is a lab is a big dog. So it might entice the dragon a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if Cedric was like, this is something I'm familiar with that I could do in a moment's notice under pressure.
Yeah.
Or, like, does he have the skill at this point in time to go bigger? Like a bear or something else that might be a little bit more appealing or threatening, or however you want to phrase it, to the dragon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm an even bigger fan of Cedric now. Now that I'm thinking about it, the man is a lab lover. He's an attractive, smart lab lover. Like, is he just like?
So wait. So wait, are you thinking of his magical Tinder profile?
I am.
Smoldering gray eyes, dark hair, straight nose, and a lab, because every guy has to have that dog in his picture.
Do you think like that's his pickup line type thing? Like he just all of a sudden transfigures a rock into a lab, and like you're instantly wooed.
I can see it.
Yeah. That's it.
I did not think we were going to go magical Tinder on this, but here you go.
I'm going to swipe right. Is that the right way to do that? I don't know.
I think it is.
Okay.
What would we call it, though? It can't be called Tinder. We got to come up with a name for that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Online dating for wizards.
Yeah. Fleur is a Welsh, gets the Welsh green. She's the second one to go. Takes her 10 minutes, which is even more impressive. Now, she obviously, like we talked about, had a little bit more time to prep for this than Cedric did. So she comes up with this sleepy trance spell that she puts on the dragon, which I can imagine would take a profound amount of skill to pull off.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if we're talking a dragon, I can't imagine a dragon's easily distracted or easily swayed one way or the other. Mm-hmm. It takes 7 fully grown adult wizards to even just stun this enough.
Yeah.
So, to put one to sleep with one spell, or at least drowsy enough that you can get the egg, that's profoundly talented. Like, if you're really breaking it down. She does have her skirt catch on fire.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious, like, skirts is your choice?
I'm assuming it's like a tennis skirt. Like, shorts underneath, tennis skirt.
Okay, yeah.
Like
a running skirt, okay.
Kind of, yeah. That's what I'm envisioning.
Yeah.
Not like, although I guess, okay, if I'm being honest, that's what I'm thinking of now logically. Mm-hmm. Reading this, yes, I was thinking of like a blue, dressy skirt.
Yeah.
In my head, which does not make sense at all.
Right.
That'd be a very bad choice.
Yeah, especially going into it knowing it's a dragon. Like,
yeah. Unless you're that supremely confident, which I can see Fleur having like an air of arrogance to her, where it's like, I got this, I'm fine. I might as well look great while I'm doing it.
Do you think some of that sleepy trance had some of that Vila in her?
Well, so that's a good point. I wonder if that magic, like Moody said, played to your strengths.
Right.
I'm wondering if that spell, combined with her being part Vila, combined with the core of her wand being from a Vila, does impact that and make that magic stronger.
Right. Like,
that's an interesting idea.
Like maybe she's really good with like trance states or imperious curses.
Right.
And that type of thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting take on that. I like that.
Yeah.
That would make a lot more sense than the playing up to your strengths bit. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we have Crumb is the third one up with the Chinese fireball, which sounds like an aggressive dragon to me.
It does.
We don't get a time for Crumb.
No.
They don't state how long it took for him to subdue his dragon. But we know that he did do it with a spell to the eye, which is an aggressive way of going about this. The magically imbued thicker hides would be hard to get through. Well, now he seems to have found a weak spot and going for the eye, which this seems like a Karkaroff tip.
Totally.
This strikes me as a Karkaroff tip.
Right.
Granted, Karkaroff can give as many tips as he wants. Crumb's the one that actually went out and hit the eye of a dragon with a spell.
Impressive.
It's impressive.
Very impressive.
that takes a lot of accuracy, a lot of fortitude to just stand there and try to hit this thing with a... I mean, I get some of his Quidditch skills might come into play, like moving targets and maybe some accuracy things, even though he's not going to grab something specifically, but maybe like estimating where something's going to be so he can like go after it. Maybe? I don't know. However, it did backfire on him a little bit in that the stunned dragon did trample over some of the other eggs, which led to not so great of a score.
I feel like he should have been knocked harder on that.
Yeah, probably. But we can get to the scoring in a second, because the scoring was a little questionable.
It was.
So, Harry is the fourth one, and obviously we get the full encounter. He was the quickest to accomplish his task, which I'm trying to think of this. If he's summoning a broom, and the broom is in, first of all, how do they not... There's no harm in Hermione taking the broom out of the castle at some point, yeah?
Yeah.
Why did it have to be in the castle still? Also, did it break windows coming out, or did Hermione, like, open a window at the Gryffindor Tower? Like, maybe that's what she did.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
But, like, why would you make it so tough on yourself that you have to navigate this broom through the castle?
Do you think it, like, went down, like, the stairs and, like... as they were like changing over and like,
had to stop, go back, go up another stairway. It changed. It's like, damn. All right, come around. It's like, did it go down one of the secret passageways? Have to duck a Whomping Willow swing? Like, what's happening there? I don't know. I felt like they could have organized that a little bit better if you knew that's how you were going to do it. I digress. But you have to wait for the broom to get from point A to point B. Then you actually have to get on the broom, fly, and coax the dragon. You have to take time to coax it. So clearly, it took him less than 10 minutes to do all of this, which is impressive.
That's awesome.
He had, since he was the quickest, he only got scratched on the shoulder. As far as we know, I don't think Crumb got injured at all during his. I don't believe.
I don't think so.
At least not that I'm aware of them saying. So... really, he came out second best of all of this, injury-wise?
Yeah.
So that is a bonus to him in his scoring. The scoring now.
I think it was an 8 from Maxine, a 9 from Crouch, a 9 from Dumbledore, a 10 from Bagman.
That's it.
And then a 4 from Karkaroff.
Yeah, that seemed odd. It seemed a little odd.
Lame.
There might be a little bit of bias there somewhere. So, in the scoring, Harry then ends up tied with Crumb for first place. Crumb was pretty well received as clearly the second best performer. So it's not like Karkaroff's scoring was that way off, even though he also gave him a 10. I think he gave Crumb a 10 despite the egg debacle.
Yes.
So... that's a little sketch. But we don't know what Cedric and Flora's scores were specifically, so we don't know how far behind they were.
Right.
But I imagine Cedric got marked off for getting his face burned pretty badly, and the skirt catching on fire, probably not a great look.
Now, do you think the scars on Cedric's face are, like handsome scars? Like makes him look a little bit more gruff?
So, do you think... So, are they handsome scars or are they moody scars? Or what you're saying?
Yeah.
I think Madame Pomfrey does a pretty good job. And cleans him up pretty good.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's probably minimal at best.
Yeah.
Here's my real question. Is if Cedric is apparently his defining trait is how good looking he is. To be fair, from everybody else.
Yeah.
And oddly, Ron, a lot. So
yeah, he is making that
he
observation.
makes a lot of comments on how good-looking Diggory is. That's fine. So, do you think Diggory makes a comment about it at all? Do you think he goes in there and is like, Madame Pomfrey, you really got to clean up these scars on my face so I can't... Or do you think he's just like, I just beat a dragon.
Yeah.
Like, this is sweet.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty happy with my performance or whatever. Like, he's more... performance and logistic based about it and not tied up in vanity.
Yeah. Probably, I mean, more logistics based.
I strike it as more of a performance thing than a vanity thing.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd
definitely.
go in there.
Yeah.
Being like, oh my God, Madame Pomfrey, can you please like help me get these scars away? I can't look like this.
Make me look like Harrison Ford.
Young Harrison Ford.
Sorry for that tangent. I just...
That's fine. One of the things that stuck out to me about this chapter, and we're going long on this non-spoiler, so forgive me on that, but I love Harry's description of being in the enclosure and not being able to really discern whether things being screamed at him are positive or negative. And it just kind of caught me as like, I think, who said it? Ron or Hermione, I think one of them said that overall, once Hogwarts figured out what exactly they had to do, most of them were cheering for Harry to do well.
Yeah.
And it's like, once they figured out, like, oh no, this kid could die. Like, let's not have that. Like, they were more for him than against him at that point. And it's kind of this, Anna will like this reference a lot. It made me think of Teddy Roosevelt's, like, Man in the Arena.
Oh, yeah.
Of, like, you can't ever...
Oh, I love that.
I know.
Yeah.
You can't ever judge someone who's going and doing it.
Right.
You can't sit there on the sideline and be like, oh, you, like, whatever.
Yes.
You know, like that, like Draco being like, oh, whatever, Potter, you did, whatever.
Yeah.
No. That's not how that works. He did it.
Yeah.
You haven't done anything. So that whole, like, Man in the Arena kind of setting, I really enjoyed. I don't know. That's what that took me to.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that.
Right? That's a history poll.
Yeah.
But if you haven't, it's a very short poem, really. It's a very short poem written by Teddy Roosevelt, one of our great U.S. presidents. But if you haven't read it,
do it.
Go read it. It's fantastic. That being said, Hermione greets the two friends who are somewhat bonding again, because Ron comes into the tent with Hermione, and they have a little back and forth, Harry and Ron. And after they essentially make up, for all things considered, she just looks at them, weeping, going, "You're both so stupid. Like, you two are so stupid." And then, like, sprints out of the tent. Which I just feel like is an odd reaction, but okay.
Right.
And from what Jen and I discussed a little while ago, I agree. This was kind of stupid.
It was
like,
dumb.
Figure your stuff out a long time ago. This could have been settled a long time ago.
It's very passive aggressive.
Which I just don't see two teenage boys being passive aggressive.
No.
I see them being aggressive.
Yes.
We should mention that this book is written by
a female. Yeah.
So I don't know if... Usually she's really good about getting, like, into Harry's mind.
Right.
I just felt like this one instance was like, I don't know that this is how teenage boys would handle the situation. But, whatever.
Yeah.
So after the event, we get some high praise from McGonagall. We get some high praise from Charlie, which I believe, like, those two people giving you praise. McGonagall, obviously, but Charlie, too. Like, you just dealt with a dragon, and the quote-unquote dragon expert here is giving you some props for being like, you did really well with that. Yeah. That would settle really well with me if I was a competitor here.
I'm going to go off on another tangent. One of the books that they looked at, like, Men Who Love Their Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever the title that was, like, the Men Who Love Their Dragons.
When Hermione and Harry were doing the research.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I just immediately thought of, like, Hagrid in his hut with...
I would be stunned if that wasn't a co-authored Hagrid Charlie book.
Yes.
It wasn't. It should be.
It should be.
It should be. We're gonna wreck on that for that's our mental canon right there.
100%.
We do hear that it's gonna be 3 months to the next task, and that the egg is the clue. So they have the information for the next task 3 months ahead of time. You just have to figure out what it is, which is the challenge. And I will agree with Harry. I've always felt like he was like, yeah, that's great. Now, how did the other champions like really get their dragons beat? Like, how did they do this? Mm-hmm. And he wanted more detail, and I'm like, yes, Harry. We all want this. We all want this blow by blow. Was it really just one spell for Crumb, or did he take a couple of shots at it? I don't know. Or, how did Cedric maneuver the lab or whatever through.
Right.
I want to know these blow-by-blow details,
Right.
but we don't get them, so whatever.
Spin-off series.
Spin-off series, for sure. We covered a lot.
Yeah, we did.
We'll stop right here and we'll go into the spoiler section. We'll get some of Mollie's thoughts on previous episodes. We'll talk some more Moody and some of the stuff that he had in his office, which was kind of...
Kill the stag!
All right, so we are back with the spoiler section for Chapter 20, the first task. And we're going to dip right into Moody's office, which... we've talked a little bit about how Crouch is playing his role very, very well. And he's decided to decorate Moody's office with all of these kind of dark detectors, as he calls them. And he lists a couple of them specifically. The secrecy sensor, which he claims doesn't work because there are so many students lying about why they didn't do homework or why they didn't come to class on time or what have you. I got a note on that in a second. Sneakoscope, which has been spinning constantly, so he disabled it.
I wonder why.
Right. And the faux glass, which is a cool bit of magic in that it's a mirror that doesn't reflect the room. It just shows you the enemies that you have, and the closer they are to you, the more in focus and sharp the image is.
I thought that was a really cool play on words, too.
Yes.
So.
I like these.
Yeah.
And I like him kind of going through each one and being like, this is what this is.
Yeah.
But clearly, can we just say the real reason for the secrecy sensor not working and the sneakoscope spinning constantly is because of him?
Yes.
He's constantly, it's one big lie that he's in.
Yep.
And he's obviously not here with good intentions. So all of this is him. It would be interesting, though, if, his foes in the faux glass, clearly it's not Harry, because his reflection would have shown up quite sharp, because he's there.
Right.
Dumbledore is in the same building, so his image would have to be pretty sharp. Moody is in a trunk in the corner.
Yeah.
Who are his foes exactly that aren't showing up clearly, that happen to be, in the same vicinity?
Right. That is a really interesting thought, because you would think that
Karkaroff is still there.
Right.
Snape is still there. He doesn't like either of those two people.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. And then that makes me just think in general about...
I guess his father could be one, because his father at this point in time doesn't have to be in the castle.
Right.
So his father could be one.
Maybe he just doesn't have very many foes that he very much cares about besides his father. Maybe all of his energy is directed towards his father. You
think there's any trick ones that he'd be wanting to hide? Ones that you wouldn't think of? Like Voldy, for example.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Magic is... Yes, you can manipulate it, but it also is...
Right.
Well, we've talked about kind of its own character, so it's it is going to show you what it's going to show you.
Right.
And if, the Mirror of Eris said, it's it is what it is.
Yeah.
No matter if you want to see it or not.
Right.
So, do you think it would be some trick
Maybe.
foe that's in there that he might not even want to necessarily have disclosed?
Right. Or what if some of his foes are already dead?
True. Which could very easily be the case.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just interesting. But I'm thinking one of the faces should probably have been sharper, because I'd imagine one of them in the castle.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe there's a range on it. There is a range on it, but clearly it's a pretty...
Yeah.
I'd want to know if one of my mortal foes was in the same building as me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Not just the same room, because at that point it's probably too late, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. But yeah, clearly those things are working because it's him. He's causing the distortions. But anyway.
One of his biggest foes himself.
That's meta. That is deep. He just walks by the phone glass and just looks at himself. But that would be... Okay. That would be interesting then. What if he walks by the faux glass, and instead of Moody's reflection, it is Barty Crouch Jr.'s reflection, but he's still Moody?
Oh!
Ooh!
Oh!
That would even lean into his deception more.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, I put that dark wizard away. He's one of my biggest foes. That'd be so like fourth wall breaking.
Right?
That'd be like,
mind blowing.
oh, that'd be a mind trip.
Yes.
That'd be. Do you have any thoughts on some of the other chapters that we've discussed since you've last been on?
Yeah. Couple things. I'm definitely in the Crouch fan club.
Oh, you are?
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Heck yeah. He did a
You
phenomenal
come to the dark side,
job. Oh yeah, I don't care. I think he did a phenomenal job of playing Alistair. Like, that takes some talent. I think he's a very talented wizard.
I'm going to throw a question at you.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I didn't prep you for this question.
No,
so
that's
I'm
all right.
throwing something blind at you.
All right.
But Jen and I recently discussed who the best written character in the series is.
Ooh.
And I'll qualify it a little bit. It has to do with a twist. Like, there has to be a twist to it. Because obviously people are like, Harry Potter or Hermione. And yeah, those are great, well-written characters, of course. But I'm talking like Peter Pettigrew with Scabbers and that twist.
Yeah.
Or like Dumbledore having a darker side twist. Or, obviously this Crouch Moody twist.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? What are your 2 cents on that? Again, apologies for throwing this at you.
Oh, no. I mean, this is a pretty amazing twist. Don't get me wrong. But I will say, and I mean, I remember reading this for the first time, just mind blown, like, holy cow, like, Moody is Crouch, Crouch is Moody.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I will say, too, though, I very much enjoyed Neville's arc. And
Ooh, okay. It's a different spin on it.
yeah, I very much enjoyed Neville's
I like that spin on it.
backstory, how he could have been the one that was chosen by Voldy, but Voldy, chose Harry because it was the most similar situation. I just remember reading that and being like, oh my gosh, you would have never suspected Neville to be this actual powerhouse that he is.
That's true. That's a good spin on it.
So,
yeah, I like that.
yeah.
I feel like that's a positive spin up.
It's more the positive side. Now, darker side, I think I remember the whole Moody Crouch debacle thing, and it was phenomenal.
Here's what I'm thinking. It's like, just during this conversation, how I'm thinking about it now, at this point in time, is... So, Scabbers is Peter Pettigrew. Mm-hmm. That's a jaw-dropping whoa moment. And yes, on rereads, you're like, wow, that was obvious, because Scabbers is mentioned every other page.
Right.
Okay. But with Moody and Crouch, I feel like it only gets better on rereads.
Yeah.
Like, with Ginny being the key to, like, the Chamber of Secrets, that gets less potent because Ginny, like you get it. This, the great thing is in the details.
Yeah.
Like him smelling the sausage when he gets to the Hogwarts staff table. Like him using the flask as like, oh, I don't drink anything that anybody puts in front of me, and I have my flask, which is really probably just little subtle things.
Right.
That you don't even notice on your second or third read, and you're like, this is mind-blowingly good.
Yeah.
Like, this is great.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff that puts him up there for me. But
I think, too, like, there's a certain factor of trust that you start to gain with him because just like Harry, like, he's giving him, like, tips, without giving him tips.
Yeah.
And, like, he's a likable character. Dumbledore trusts him. So it's very, like, when you find out he's actually, like, this deranged Death Eater, you're like, what?
let's talk about that for a second, because you're right, and you make a great point, and I like the point of he's almost, to an extent, not as deep of a level, but he's counseling Harry similar to Lupin.
Yeah.
And he's having those moments of like, you are good at things. Think it through. It's not that difficult. And like, coaching him almost. And if you're Harry, at some point you got to stop and be like, I really liked Lupin, werewolf. I really liked Moody, not Moody. I really like, what is going on?
Right.
Like,
right.
You, again, needs therapy.
Yes.
But it's like, if you're Harry, at some point you're like, maybe I should stop confiding in teachers because,
right.
Not that Lupin's a bad person, obviously he's
No.
not. And the real Moody is a trip. But better than this. But you would feel a little shell-shocked to be like, can I have these heart-to-hearts with these teachers? Because I don't know who they really are.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right. I think, too, that's just a part of Harry, though. Like, he's always looking for, and I mean, he has it in Sirius, but I think he's always, too, just looking for that adult figure for advice from. And because that doesn't exist in his life. So if he can have that on a day-to-day basis with, like, especially with a subject he's, like, you know, very much interested in, I think, I mean, why he didn't want to confide in Lockhart, I don't know, but,
Yeah, that was one that he didn't believe in from the get, which was good.
Yeah, but, I mean, I could see, too, like, as he gets older, that need to want to confide in an adult that has had life experience would be very tempting.
Do you have any other notes from some of the other chapters?
Unforgivable curses. I know you had asked Anna and Jen, like, which you think are the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm in Jen's camp. I think the Cruciatus curse would be awful.
Okay. What's the reasoning behind that?
I mean, similar reasons. Like, you're literally being tortured. Like, it takes an evil person to fully go into something to torture them. Like, okay, yeah, you can, you know, hit somebody with the killing curse, and it is what it is, you know?
Right.
Like, but to sit there and torture people, like, that is sick. I understand taking away free will and not, but, like, and I mean, that is a pretty sinister thing where it's like you feel really awesome and you're doing all these crazy things. It's like you're drugged, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, man, it just makes my stomach turn to think about somebody, like, cursing someone to torture them.
And it's not that any torture is pleasant, but this just like the look of it is like violent and contorting, and it's like gross all the way around, like in every sense of that word.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Yeah. So I think too with the I think you and Elizabeth were talking about the unforgivable curses and Moody teaching them, Crouch teaching them.
Oh yeah.
I think Crouch is going to do whatever he wants to do. He just seems like that kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I also too think that, like, giving that information to Voldy would be beneficial in a way as well.
So do you think he reports back like, hey, this Harry Potter kid can actually repel the Imperius Curse to a degree?
I would say he does to a certain degree. Is he keeping in constant contact with him? I don't think so. But I think there has to be some level of contact that they are having and updates for what happens at the end and for their plan. So,
do you think Moody, or do you think Crouch, I keep calling him Moody like we're non-spoilers. So do you think Crouch, after his little strategy session with Harry, is like, I tried to get this kid for 10 minutes to say he's good at flying a broom, and he could not figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, do you think he just reports that back to, like, Voldy, or...
He has confidence issues.
Right? Insecure.
Yeah.
And then Tom Riddle's sitting there in his, like, state that he's in, reading this note, and he's like, oh, I also am insecure at times.
Like this, like self-reflection.
Yeah, right. Staring into the fireplace at the Riddle house, just like...
Tom Riddle takes out his diary. Today I've learned that Harry Potter and I are one and the same.
Peter walks in, he's like, get out of here! Leave me.
I'm having a moment.
single tear.
Yeah. Oh god, I love this.
That's a different spin we took on Crouch spying on Harry. That's good.
Plus, too, I also think it gives. So, say if Crouch is, I mean, they're building up to a wizarding war. It also gives information about the students. Like, okay, which student is going to be really into giving people these forgivable curses? Which students are actually decently good at repelling them, or like which are more easily swayed? And I think because they're the new generation.
That's true, and we've talked a little bit more about like how is Barty Crouch Jr. a Death Eater, like ride or die?
Yeah.
Yes, he obviously is because he's carrying out a lot of very sick and sadistic things.
And an important task.
Right. But at the same time, is he like he's got a mission here specifically.
Yeah.
Do you think he's scouting like Slytherins and being like, Crabbe and Goyle could be of use?
Yeah.
Or Blaise Zabini is a kid to keep a watch on.
Yeah.
Or, or like Ravenclaws or whatever have you.
Yeah.
Or like, Cedric Diggory, talented kid. He's fair. He's hardworking. He might be a problem.
Yeah.
He could be a problem. Like if he ends up in the Ministry of Magic, it could be an issue.
Yeah.
Or, Angelina Johnson, or like whoever he's picking out as a talented student.
His scouting report.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never thought of Barty Crouch Jr. as a talent evaluator.
Right?
But I guess that could be part of his, like a talent scout.
Yeah. Just coming...
Hogwarts has talent.
Just having seen talent scouts bringing in talent to university or collegiate level sports, to see Barty Crouch in that role makes me giggle.
I can just see Barty Crouch as Moody sitting at a judge's table for Hogwarts Has Talent, or like Hogwarts Idol. Yeah. And just have like a Lockhart-style stage set up and just bringing out kids and be like, give me your best shot. What you got?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then too, totally other tangent. Do you know Lana Del Rey, the singer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
She has a song called "Baby You're My Ride or Die." I just picture like Barty Crouch like putting on a leather jacket, just singing Lana Del Rey.
And he wins the talent show. Well done.
Exactly.
Well done, Moody. All right.
I think that I'm thinking of this correctly. Either way, I'm now equating Barty Crouch Crouch to Lana Del Rey.
And now I'm thinking of like Brendan Gleeson's Moody. Like up there doing his thing. It's great. It's
on
great.
A motorcycle, wearing a leather motorcycle jacket. You're
I'm
talented.
We get on some very different tangents when you're on these episodes.
I do.
It's fantastic. I love it. Do you have anything else, or do you want to?
And then the very last one.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
Is I have to again shout out Anna. Jude Law's Dumbledore. Love it.
Yeah, it's grown on me. The more I've watched those movies and the more I've talked about that character, it's grown on me.
I mean, obviously, my favorite Dumbledore is Book Dumbledore. I just love how hard he leans into his weirdness and how comfortable and okay he is in that. It just makes my heart swell as a stone cold weirdo myself.
Somewhere there's an in-between of Jude Law and like Richard Harris, Michael Gambon, and I'm not sure where that middle is.
I hope they find it.
But that'd be a very interesting portrayal of Dumbledore to be like transitioning from Tom Ford three-piece suits.
Yes.
Not Tom Ford because he wasn't around in 1930, but you get my point.
Yes.
Very nice high-fashion suits to sparkly robes and the high-buckle boots and the, and the like stereotypical wizard hat. Like, where did that switch happen and why? I would love to get. That's the Harry Potter content I need.
I want a TV series on that.
What makes the Jude Law Dumbledore so great for you?
I think it's like his cheekiness.
Okay.
Like his air and his cheekiness. Like the confidence but quirky factor.
I like the understated confidence
Yeah.
from him, which is always a thing with Dumbledore, is that, like, I know I'm good. I don't have to prove it. That being said, I do like to show it off every now and then and, like, wow you with something.
Yeah.
Jude Law plays that really well.
He does.
And that's something that we didn't get with Richard Harris or Michael Gambon, is that little, like, let me impress you real quick.
Right. 10-pin bowling.
Don't have to, but... yeah. No, I agree. He's a great Dumbledore. I've bought in. I was skeptical at first. I have bought in.
Yeah.
And with that, Dumbledore Judgment, we will wrap up Chapter 20, the first task. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, please give us a like, a comment, a review of the episode on wherever you're listening to this, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, on Anchor itself. Don't forget to leave us that voice message, and you could end up on the podcast.
Do it.
That'd be really cool. So, yeah, leave us all those awesome things. Keep commenting on Twitter and Instagram. We really appreciate all of that interaction. It's awesome to see, so keep it coming. We've recently been heard in a bunch of new territories around the world. Thank you for listening. That's really cool. So, it's cool to be kind of heard in all corners of the world. So, thank you. And we will be back next week with Chapter 21. Which is just a perfect setup. Mollie will be on again. It's a great chapter for Mollie in the House Elf Liberation Front. And we will be back with that. So thanks for listening, guys. Thank you for listening to Hogwarts, a podcast. If you like what you've heard, please click the subscribe button on your preferred podcasting app and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Hogwarts a Pod.